Casey Thompson. Thompson finished the game 24 of 36 through the air for 232 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks. Completed 67% of his passes. In the receiving game, 2 guys were tied for the team high. Travis Vokalek had 6 catches for 46 yards and a touchdown. Anthony Grant out of the backfield had 6 catches for 34 yards as well. Trey Palmer and Marcus Washington both had 4 catches. Palmer finished with 64 yards and a touchdown. Marcus Washington finished the game with 4 catches and 53 yards as well. Casey Thompson, I was shocked when I read this stat line, only sacked 1 time. Now, with that being said, the offensive line did not look good, Bach.
No.
It did not look good. There were a couple holding penalties, which is going to happen against a physical front 7 or front 4 specifically of Rutgers. There was a couple times where guys completely whiffed on blocks. Turner Corcoran completely whiffed. I think it was on the 1 sack that Casey Thompson suffered. Turner Corcoran on the left side from that left tackle position just completely whiffed.
Really struggled.
And the guy completely just chopped down at his arms, and Turner Corcoran didn't even, try to stop him. Like it was a poor play. There were a couple blocks Ethan Piper missed as well, and I'm not trying to single guys out necessarily, but the entire line was not pretty tonight. And when you go forward, when we go forward, and people don't want to necessarily look forward to the games, but we kind of have to, because that's what the conversation is going to be in the coming weeks. When you play the physical, Rutgers is going to be one of the worst defenses you're going to see as we go forward with the guys in front, with the schedule in front of you. Michigan is a top 10 defense. Iowa is a top 10 defense. Wisconsin's having a down year, but they're still a physical type of defense. And now their former defense coordinator is the interim head coach. So, defense and running the ball is going to be the focus point for Wisconsin going forward. So it's one of those things where they got to figure out a way to shore up the offensive line, and because if they don't, Casey Thompson is going to be lucky to finish this season without having to sit out.
Well, and thank God that the defense has made these strides, because I think that that's going to be part of the recipe moving forward, is to start to lean more on this defense, on the defense, because it is, and you mentioned the ones that are there, all Illinois and Minnesota, the same thing, top 20 type defenses. So Nebraska's schedule is just not going to allow it on the offensive side of the ball, the offensive line in particular, to get a break. Again, they tried some things. Letofsky and Hunter Anthony were there in the second half. Maybe Kevin Williams gets healthy in the coming weeks. So there's guys that can rotate in and out, but it's going to be a problem. It's been a problem for several years. It was kind of identified as a problem coming into this season, and it's going to be difficult. Basically, regardless of who you can have, they've had 3 different offensive coordinators in 5 years. You can have 5. It's hard to play call with a poor offensive line, both in run blocking and in pass blocking tonight. It just was not great. But again, I don't want to say that and then also not acknowledge the strides that they did make, because exactly. 2 turnovers in the first half, you come out, you get your 2 touchdowns in the second half. Right. Mm-hmm. You didn't allow as much pressure. Casey didn't get destroyed as much probably in the second half. So they're not going to turn over. They're going to be a pipeline anytime soon. No. But if they can make small strides, then that will obviously benefit the team. I just don't know if they have 2 tackles that against the defenses that they're going to play, that's not going to see a game where you don't see Casey probably getting up slow a time or 2 each game.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines. We got Bruce from Oregon on the line. Bruce, thanks for holding, man. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to say, man, that, the defense only gave up 1 touchdown today. Okay. And I know you guys have been hammering it down. The defense is getting a lot better. Mm-hmm. We have to hold on to that. I just hope that the guys on the offense of the ball, when these kids are doing that, that we can come out and score. And yeah, it's going to get, harder, because the teams that we're going to play are going to, like a Michigan. Yeah, they're a top 10 defense. They're good. But, I think that the more each week that we keep playing, I believe this team eventually is going to start kicking on all cylinders and on both sides of the ball. But I look at it one game at a time, and I'm not looking for the West. I'm looking for a bowl game.
Yeah.
So, hey, thanks, guys. Great win tonight. Very happy.
Thank
Go
you.
Huskers.
Thank you, Bruce. And with that in mind, I think there's something to be said also for offense benefiting off of the defense's energy. Like, right, the offense is going to use any defensive energy that they can get, whether it be from a turnover, whether it be from a stop on fourth down, or just a general punt. The offense is going to have a lot more confidence in what they're doing, and they're going to feel a lot better about the product that they're putting on the field if they don't have to go out and score 35 points in a game.
I'll tell you this: if you're scouting Nebraska, I think and they get a big interception, look out for Trey Palmer, because that's who they're targeting.
Which and that's a great play call. Like, that's the thing is, like, that's a great play call, because when you feel like you've taken the momentum back and you've been running the ball quite a bit in the second half, take a shot. Take a shot. That's the perfect time to take a shot, because there were a lot of times tonight, whether it was 3rd and 10, especially on that last possession, and give credit to Nebraska staff because they managed the clock really, really well. There was some times where, Bach, you and I talked about, I was the one that brought it up. Man, a play action over the top would be kind of interesting to see here. Now, obviously, it was a 14-13 game. Maybe if you have a touchdown lead, maybe you do that, or maybe even if you're up by a field goal, you're okay with doing that. Just because you had sucked the defensive backs and the linebackers so close to the line of scrimmage that allow Trey Palmer or Alante Brown to go, and I'm taking them in one-on-one coverage with the Casey Thompson throwing football. Like, it would just been interesting to see. However, hindsight's 2020, and they managed the game just fine at the end of the game. And give them credit, because once again, as we kind of opened up the show, they haven't done that in years past. And it has been different people, obviously, but Nebraska hadn't done it as a program.
Well, and also when you're thinking about that too, I mean, just think about how much confidence you have in their defense. I mean, they really struggled after their first two passes, even switching quarterbacks, trying to find some sort of pass game, and without a missed tackle there on the one field goal that they did, the latest field goal that they did get. You really just kind of shut them down. So I think that Mickey Joseph and the crew was pretty comfortable, especially with them. They were going to be hurried. They didn't have any timeouts. That's just not a team built for a 2-minute drill, much less 1 minute to go and get the lead. So, I think that probably played into the conservative play calling as well.
Let's go back to the phone lines. We got Joe on the line. Joe, how's it going? Joe.
It's going.
Oh, there he is. What's up, Joe?
Nothing. I'm kind of ashamed of myself after the non-tackle on the screen.
Mm-hmm. You turn the game off?
All right, we're gonna go ahead and say goodbye to Joe. Joe, I apologize, man. Go ahead and shoot us a text. We might have been losing connection, or you can try to call in one more time if you want to. But unfortunately, we just couldn't hear you. So once again, 402-464-5685. The phone lines are open if you do want to call. So we'll dive into this a little bit more. We can kind of build off of that initial sentence that Joe said. The tackle on the screenplay. There were a lot of times that Nebraska missed the initial tackle, and they're going to need to. I mean, they got lucky that their defense was much of quite a bit of a bend don't break kind of defense tonight, and it worked. It worked. But then when they needed a turnover, they ended up getting one. So give credit where credit's due.
Even think to that, in a 1-point game, you can always just go back to the small things. Rutgers was in field position at the end of the half. Garrett Nelson gets one of his sacks, and all of a sudden they're not. They have to try a 58-yard field goal. It's no good. If they hit that, again, changes the whole complexion of the game toward the end. So, I mean, every small play mattered. And yeah, missed tackle. I mean, again, missed tackles should be counted. And it's not going to be pretty when they get to the total there at the end again, too. This was not a pretty game in totality, and there's going to be a lot of things to improve on. But that plane ride's a lot sweeter with the 1-point victory.
All right, let's go and get to our final timeout here. When we come back, we'll get to our final couple phone calls. We'll be good. Sit tight. It looks like we have 2 phone calls that are lined up and waiting. We'll get to you guys right out of the break. Once again, it's your last chance to vote for the American Senior Benefits Player of the Game on our 93.7 The Ticket Twitter page. You can also follow Bach and I on Twitter, Nick_Sainert, or at Jake Bachoven on the Twitter sphere as well. Stay up to date. We might hear from Mickey Joseph a little bit more, even Garrett Nelson. I saw we have some audio files in there. We'll be here until about 11 o'clock or so. taking you into what we can do is just a stress-free Saturday. A stress-free Saturday. I said this last week, Bach, at the Husker After Party postgame show for Indiana. I said, man, next Friday, it's going to be great if we can sit here and say Nebraska's now won 2 games that they were supposed to win. And here we are on October 7th saying Nebraska's now won 2 games that they were supposed to win. And it's a good feeling. It's a really good feeling because Nebraska's fans, including us, Bach, have been through a hell of a ride over the last 4 years. So we just hope this is a continuation of a turning point, and we build off of it and go on to it next weekend